You probably know someone who swears by ginger. Maybe they add it to tea every morning. Maybe they drink ginger water before breakfast. Maybe they've heard it helps with digestion, inflammation, or even weight loss. But here's the strange part. Some people start eating ginger every day and suddenly feel lighter, less bloated, more energized, while others notice almost nothing at all. So what's really happening inside the body? And why do so many adults over 40 say ginger seems to affect them differently as they age? Because the truth is, ginger is doing far more inside your body than most people realize. This tiny root doesn't just settle the stomach. It interacts with inflammation, blood sugar, circulation, digestion, appetite, hormones, and even the way your body handles aging itself. And after the age of 45, those systems begin changing in ways most people never fully understand. That's why some people feel constantly tired after meals,
Why belly fat becomes harder to lose, why the body feels more inflamed, why joints become stiff, why energy crashes happen more often, and why metabolism suddenly feels slower, even when eating less. What most people don't realise is that many of those symptoms are connected by one hidden process: chronic low-grade inflammation. And this is exactly where ginger becomes fascinating. Because modern science has discovered that ginger contains powerful natural compounds that may influence inflammation pathways throughout the body, especially in aging adults. But there's also a hidden truth nobody talks about. The way ginger affects your body depends heavily on how often you consume it, how your metabolism works after 50, and one common mistake that quietly cancels many of its benefits. We'll come back to that shortly. Because first, we need to understand why the body changes so dramatically with age in the first place. After 40, and especially after 50, the body becomes more sensitive. Not weaker, not broken, just more reactive. Blood sugar becomes less stable. Muscle mass slowly declines. Recovery slows down. Inflammation becomes easier to trigger. And the body starts storing energy differently. This is why many adults suddenly notice more belly fat, less energy, stiffness in the morning, slower digestion, and stronger cravings for sugar or carbs. And perhaps the most frustrating part, many people feel like they're doing everything right. They eat less, walk more, try healthier foods, drink more water, yet the body still feels heavy and sluggish. What most people don't realise is that aging changes the body's internal chemistry. The metabolism isn't simply slowing down. The body is becoming more protective of energy, protective of muscle, protective of survival. And when inflammation stays elevated for years, the body begins acting like it's under constant stress. That stress changes everything. It changes hunger signals, fat storage, blood sugar balance, energy production, even sleep quality. And this is where ginger enters the picture in a surprisingly powerful way. Because ginger contains bioactive compounds called gingerols and shogaols. These natural compounds appear to influence inflammatory pathways inside the body. In simple terms, they may help calm some of the internal noise that builds up with aging. And when that noise decreases, the body often starts functioning more smoothly. Digestion improves, bloating decreases, blood sugar becomes more stable, energy crashes become less intense, circulation may improve. Even joint discomfort can sometimes feel different. But the most interesting effect may involve something millions of adults struggle with every day: insulin resistance. This is one of the biggest hidden reasons people gain stubborn weight after 45. Here's what happens. When we eat carbohydrates or sugar, the body releases insulin to move sugar out of the bloodstream and into cells for energy. But over time, especially with stress, poor sleep, inactivity, processed foods, and aging, cells become less responsive to insulin. The body then produces more and more insulin to compensate. And high insulin levels make fat loss incredibly difficult, especially around the belly. This is why some adults feel like they barely eat, but still gain weight. Their hormones are changing how energy gets stored. And some early research suggests ginger may help improve insulin sensitivity in certain people. Not magically, not overnight, but gradually. This is important because stable blood sugar affects almost everything: energy, hunger, fat storage, mental clarity, and even inflammation itself. In fact, many people don't realize how connected fatigue and blood sugar truly are. If blood sugar constantly spikes and crashes, the body feels exhausted. That afternoon crash, the heavy feeling after meals, the constant desire for snacks, the brain fog, these are often signs that the body is struggling to regulate energy efficiently. And this is why some people say they feel more stable after consistently eating ginger. Not because ginger is some miracle cure, but because the body may finally be getting small amounts of support in systems that have been under stress for years. Still, there's another reason ginger has become so popular among older adults: digestion. Because digestion changes dramatically with age. Stomach acid production may decline, the gut becomes more sensitive, movement through the digestive tract can slow down, and suddenly people begin experiencing bloating, gas, heaviness after meals, acid discomfort, or constipation. What's fascinating is that ginger appears to influence gastric emptying, meaning it may help food move through the stomach more efficiently. And when digestion improves, many people notice something unexpected. They feel lighter, not necessarily because they lost huge amounts of fat overnight, but because the body no longer feels constantly inflamed and overloaded. This creates an important psychological shift. People start feeling hopeful again. And hope matters more than most people realize, because many adults over 50 secretly feel betrayed by their bodies. They think, my metabolism is ruined. I'm just getting old. Nothing works anymore. But the body is often responding exactly the way biology predicts. It's adapting to stress, inflammation, poor recovery, blood sugar instability, muscle loss, sleep disruption. And sometimes small daily habits begin nudging those systems in a better direction. That's what makes ginger interesting. Not because it's magical, but because it may support multiple systems at once. Now, this is where many people make a major mistake. They start consuming massive amounts of ginger shots, concentrated supplements, extremely strong teas, multiple doses per day. More is not always better. In fact, some people experience stomach irritation, heartburn, digestive discomfort, or interactions with certain medications, especially blood thinners. This is why moderation matters. For many adults, consistency matters far more than intensity. A small amount daily is often more sustainable than extreme health routines that disappear after 2 weeks. And this connects to a deeper truth about health after 50. The body responds best to gentle consistency, not punishment, not extreme dieting, not exhausting workouts, not impossible routines. The healthiest aging adults usually build simple habits they can repeat calmly for years. That's where transformation actually happens. And there's another hidden reason ginger may feel so powerful for some people. It may indirectly help reduce cravings, not because it burns fat, but because stable digestion and steadier blood sugar can reduce the emotional roller coaster of hunger. This matters enormously after 45, because many people aren't actually struggling with willpower. They're struggling with biology. When blood sugar crashes, cravings rise. When sleep declines, hunger hormones change. When stress increases, cortisol pushes the body toward comfort foods. And chronic cortisol is one of the biggest hidden drivers of belly fat, especially visceral fat, the dangerous fat stored deep around organs. This is the type of fat linked with heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver, and inflammation. And unfortunately, visceral fat becomes easier to accumulate with age, especially during long periods of stress. What most people never hear is this: the body often stores fat when it feels unsafe. Unsafe from stress, unsafe from inflammation, unsafe from unstable energy. That's why health after 50 is not only about calories, it's about signals. And ginger appears to influence several of those signals in subtle ways. Now let's talk about circulation. Because one of the quietest changes with aging is reduced circulation efficiency. People notice cold hands, slower recovery, less stamina, more fatigue during walks, brain fog, or a general feeling of sluggishness. Some compounds in ginger may support healthy circulation and blood vessel function. Again, not dramatically overnight. But over time, Small improvements in circulation can affect how the entire body feels. More oxygen delivery, better nutrient transport, improved energy production. And energy is something many adults desperately want back. Not the fake energy from caffeine spikes. Real energy, the kind where your body feels alive again, where mornings feel easier, where walks feel lighter, where your mind feels clearer, where your joints don't feel stiff every time you stand up. And perhaps the most emotional part of all this is realizing your body may not be failing. It may simply be overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by years of inflammation, stress, processed foods, poor sleep, low movement, and metabolic strain. That realization changes everything because it replaces shame with understanding. And understanding creates hope. Now, there's another surprising area where ginger has gained attention: the brain. Researchers are increasingly interested in how chronic inflammation affects memory, mood, and cognitive aging. Many adults notice mental fog, slower recall, difficulty concentrating, or feeling mentally drained. And while no food can stop aging entirely, reducing chronic inflammation may help support healthier brain function over time. This is why health experts now talk less about anti-aging and more about healthy aging. Because the goal isn't to become 25 again. The goal is to feel capable, clear-minded, mobile, energetic, independent, and daily habits matter more than dramatic solutions. This is where many people finally begin understanding something powerful. The healthiest lifestyles are often the simplest ones. Daily walks, better sleep, stable meals, protein, hydration, stress reduction, consistent movement, and small supportive foods like ginger. Not perfection, consistency. And here's something fascinating. Many people who begin improving their health after 50 expect instant results. But the body often heals in layers. First, digestion improves, then energy stabilizes, then cravings decrease, then sleep improves, then movement becomes easier, then inflammation slowly decreases, and eventually, people start feeling different in their own skin. Lighter, calmer, more hopeful. That transformation rarely happens overnight, but it can happen, especially when people stop fighting their bodies and start understanding them. Now you may be wondering, what's the best way to actually consume ginger? Fresh ginger in tea is one common option, adding small amounts to meals, using it in soups or warm drinks. Some people use powdered ginger. The key is sustainability, a habit you can realistically continue, because after 50, the body responds incredibly well to routines that lower stress instead of increasing it. And perhaps the biggest hidden truth in all of this is that health is rarely changed by one superfood alone. It's changed by the signals you repeatedly send your body every day. Signals of nourishment, movement, recovery, stability, safety. Ginger may simply become one helpful piece of that larger picture. And honestly, that's what makes it powerful. Not hype, not miracles, not extreme promises. Just a simple natural food that may support the body in ways many people never fully understood, especially during aging. Because aging itself is not the enemy. The real problem is accelerated inflammation, metabolic stress, and years of accumulated strain. That's what steals energy. That's what increases belly fat. That's what makes the body feel older than it really is. But when those systems begin calming down, even gradually, the body often responds in remarkable ways. More energy, better digestion, improved mobility, clearer thinking, steadier moods, healthier routines, and maybe most importantly, a renewed belief that change is still possible, no matter your age, because the human body is constantly responding to what you repeatedly do. Every meal, every walk, every night of sleep, every habit. And sometimes the smallest daily choices quietly shape the future, more than dramatic short-term efforts ever could. So if you decide to start eating ginger every day, don't think of it as a miracle cure. Think of it as a signal, a small daily message to your body that says, we're starting to take care of ourselves again. And for many people over 50, that's where the real transformation begins. Because in the end, healthy aging isn't about chasing perfection. It's about reducing the burdens your body has been carrying for years. And once that happens, something surprising often returns. energy, clarity, movement, confidence, hope, confidence. And perhaps in our next discussion, we'll explore another hidden truth most adults never hear about aging metabolism. Why some healthy breakfast foods may actually increase belly fat and energy crashes after 50.